This is not the intent behind this is not for me to just sit here and talk. I have no PowerPoint to go through. I may show a couple of different screenshots. So I also like for this to be interactive. Sometimes maybe audio, but keep an eye on the chat would be a good thing. With that being said, my first question is going to be if you could just drop a 1 in the chat if you have used ChatGPT before. Help me understand kind of where everybody is coming from. So I'm seeing a lot of 1s, which is
lot of
what I would
ones, 5,
expect.
6,
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
7, 8, 9.
So
I
my
have a
next
0.
question, so my next question is, has anybody played around with what we call, or it's in ChatGPT, it shows up under your profile under this my chat or my GPTs or custom chat GPTs. Drop a 2 in the chat if you've used either one of those.
That will be good. Okay, Natalia, there's a 2.
Okay, so Natalia, you don't pay any attention. Everybody else, hopefully you're going to learn something on this. And I guess now would be a good time for me to share my screen. I just realized that it's not. I'm going to assume somebody will tell me if you cannot see the screen. And we're going to go
You
from
can
here.
see the screen.
Okay, so now we're in my settings and under here. So what we're going to do, and I guess I should set this up. So normally, if you're using ChatGPT, and this is somewhat specific to ChatGPT, but if you are in a work environment and you have access to Copilot Pro, then you can actually do this under the guise of the Microsoft umbrella for Copilot Pro. I don't know very much about Google, but I'm sure that they either have something in the works or something that's going to be similar to this. But we all know ChatGPT has data from a certain point in time. If you're using ChatGPT 4 or if you are using Microsoft Bing, it will give you some more real-time information, but it's going off and searching the web. But it's generally kind of generic, right? You got to tell it, and it's looking through a wide variety of different things, different stuff that's on the web, that's out there, that's open source. And that's where it's getting most of its information from, and that's being fed back into the model, yada, yada, yada. So it's very broad. But sometimes you have a really narrow scope of work of something that you're looking for. So in our case today, we're going to be talking about the domain of PMP. I like to say that I am not a PMP certified person, but I'm married to a PMP. So I have probably got mine through osmosis. I don't know that that officially counts. And since I don't pay dues, it probably doesn't count at all. But I know more about PMP than I probably should. That being said, I want to make this focus on what might be relevant for you. But since I'm not a PMP, be a little bit gentle if I don't get everything right. But what we're going to do today is we're going to walk through the process of creating a custom chat GPT that's going to be specific for PMP related stuff. And that's as broad as I can go. But if in your organization or just in your own best practices, you've created some documentation about how you run a project, you can feed that specific information into ChatGPT, and it will basically take that as part of its learning and will augment all the other data that's out there and put a preference on your custom data set. So drop a 1 in the chat now if you're ready to really dive into things. Hopefully everybody is. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over here to my GPTs. So I've already created one, this Project Mentor right here. That's going to be my backup if this doesn't work. But I want to walk through the whole process so that everybody can see it. Now that it's being recorded, somebody can go back and watch it later as well. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a GPT. What you'll notice is there are 2 different versions of this. Configure, think of that as the pro version. If you already know a lot and you want to just kind of cut to the chase and you know that you want to name it something, you know the description, you know what instructions you want to provide, you know what all these data points are, you can start there. Your first one, I would recommend that you come over here to create, because it's going to give you the normal ChatGPT builder interface or the normal ChatGPT interface that we all know and love. Basically, what would you like me to make? So you can provide a description here, and it's going to walk you through the whole process of building a ChatGPT. And it will ask you a bunch of questions about how do you want it to respond? Do you want it to be very broad? Do you want it to be very narrow? So there's going to be a lot of things like that that you can do. In the interest of time, I'm going to shortcut that part of it, and I'm going to rebuild kind of what I already built by doing a little bit of copy and paste. So we're going to call our ChatGPT the PMI Dallas Project Mentor. Our description is going to be your go-to assistant for PMP related questions and guidance. And here's going to be our instruction set. Okay, so I'm not going to read all this, but essentially going to serve as a project manager assistant specializing in PMP. It defines its certification topics. It's going to provide guidance on the methodologies, roles, responsibilities, risks, various other project management related subjects. Sorry, a question? Okay. So basically it's still pretty broad. So you can work on this to do whatever you want it to be. And then we're going to give it what are some conversation starters? So if you're like me and you get writer's block every time you see a blank screen, this is going to help with that. So the conversation starters are what are some basic questions that you might expect to routinely ask the bot? So I've got 3 that I'm going to start off with because I do like some interactivity. Can somebody shout out something that they're interested in? What's a question that comes up on occasion?
Risk management.
Can you be more specific about risk management?
What are the risk mitigation plan, or what is the strategy for risk mitigation?
How about how do I define a risk mitigation plan? Think that will work?
Possible.
Okay, it's possible. We'll see what it comes up with. Does anybody from the audience have one? If not, I'm going to add one because I know that my basic understanding is PMI is creating its own chatbot that probably is taking this concept to steroids. So it's called PMI Infinity. So let's see if maybe it'll answer something like that. So this in of itself gives it an idea of what it's going to be able to answer, the scope. But where the power comes in from this is you're able to upload files. And these files, mostly I use PDFs because I think it does better when it has words, but it can interpret pictures. So it's kind of your mileage may vary. You can only upload, I think it's 10 at a time. So this is going to take just a few seconds. I have to count in my head. That's about right. I'm going to upload a fair amount of data here. And essentially what it's going off and doing is it's analyzing all of these documents so that when we engage it in a chat, it's going to come back with questions or come back with responses that are based both on the things that it already knows that are out there in the world, but it's going to put a priority on these documents. I think it's got all those before we started. I spent some time downloading some files the other day.
So Jason, I have a quick question if I can ask.
Yeah, sorry, what was the question?
So the PDFs, if they have the images, also the ChatGPT can recognize the images?
Yeah, it can. ChatGPT 4 can recognize images and provide a description.
Oh, okay.
So if you, just in normal, if you hit this icon right here, like if I were to upload a picture, it can describe the picture, like tell me a description of this picture. And like if it was a picture of a couple walking down the street, it would come back with something like a blonde-haired woman and a brown-haired man walking down the street. So it does read the, like, I just don't know how well it interprets diagrams.
Got it.
The bottom here, we're somewhere. Got to have the PMBOK. Can't have a discussion about PMI without the PMBOK, right? So this is all public-facing information that's out there. So some of this could be replicated in what its knowledge is already from the web. But I think it will give you an idea of what you can do. So I don't do anything with the activation. We can do a preview. I'm going to skip that just because I think where the meat of this and where the fun really is hitting the create button. We're going to create it. I'm going to share. I'm going to provide this link and I will put it in the chat in a minute. Please. Error saving draft. Okay, I've not seen that one before. These are the powers of a live demo here, folks. This is why I make sure I had a backup. So we're going to go to this one because it should work. It basically is the same thing or a similar thing, the same files. So I only have these 4 starter packages here. But let's ask it a question. And again, from audience participation, what is a question that you might have that you want to, I mean, kind of, I guess it was May that asked this before, principles of risk management. So this is just a conversation starter. We push this. Okay, so it is thinking, so it's coming back. So at least that part of it is working. So it's just providing a description of what it is. And this is basically, it's coming back and telling us that it did get this from the PMBOK guide. So that was one of the files that was uploaded. So I tried this the other day, so let's see how this works, because I know this is one of the questions I've had this discussion sometimes, like, what's the real value of PMI and PMP? So I'm going to play into scenario as like, my boss, sorry, I cannot type and talk and chew gum at the same time, so forgive me while we go through this, doesn't believe in project management. Give me 60-second elevator pitch. To convince them relevant now. Okay, so now I go have my little conversation with my boss. I'm going to tell him that considering the rapid pace of technology advancements, the increasing complexity of the global market, the effective project management is crucial for the organization's success. So I would probably cut this down a little bit, but that's like the normal culling process when you're interacting and kind of brainstorming with ChatGPT, or in this case, our personal bot.
Yeah. I'm on a comp.
Any questions? Any kind of ideas? What
Go
else?
ahead, Lee, don't wait for me.
The idea is, can you create
you
a
hear me?
scenario? Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, Pat. I was telling the other person was talking, so you can go on. Let me try to mute them.
Okay, can we just create a scenario? I'm working on a cybersecurity project, and can you give me some potential risks based on the cybersecurity project, and how can I request my boss for additional headcount for project manager?
Okay.
Like that. Let's see if that can tailor.
Jason, I'm sorry, May, for interruption. Before you move forward, could you tell me where did you click to save when you uploaded all the documents and then you clicked somewhere? So I moved from one screen to another and I missed it.
Okay. Yeah, let me go back here. So I'm going to show you this one since it is functioning. This one is the one I was trying to do and it failed to upload for some unknown reason. On this one, when we get down in this section, so I'm in the configure section, but you can upload it in either side. just easier. This is the more streamlined kind of like pro version. You just come down here and then you would upload the file that you're interested in. That makes sense?
And yes, thank you. And then you click save, right, on the bottom,
Yes. Actually, I think it's up
or
here.
create new action.
The create new action is really more of is like letting it retrieve, like going to an external data source. So
Okay.
this is more like an integration. So that's beyond the scope of what I have actual knowledge of. I've been playing with this for the past couple of weeks, just like coming up with different things that I do in a day-to-day basis that are highly customized, that I want it to be done a certain way. So I spend a fair amount of time negotiating with customers. And so if anybody's ever read the book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, it's a really great book on negotiation. So I downloaded a bunch of material on that and fed it into it. So when I think about from an email, I use it to kind of recraft that and changing it using more of a Chris Voss style. That's kind of the practical purpose from my perspective of it. The practical purpose of this is to really kind of narrow it down to the specific use cases of something you're looking for. And kind of while we're here, I don't want to hit that one. Other good thing is you can share this link. So anybody with the link can have this. And since I've already created it, I'm going to just place it. I'm going to copy it and I can put it in the chat real quick. So then anybody that's on ChatGPT can actually go in and click this link and it should give you access to this very same model here. As I were to update the model, you would actually get, you will get updates as well. So if I change these, the dynamics of it, you will get different information based on the things that we upload. All right, so I think May had a question. Let's see. I'm going to go back to the other mode to ask questions. Okay, May, what was your question again? You are let's see, a meeting with the project.
Just a scenario, if you are a project manager leading a cybersecurity project, what are potential risks you can identify, and how can I tailor my message to request additional headcount? Of course, in the real life, you will add more information, but this is just for demo.
The results of this are going to vary a little bit depending on like if the PDFs cover cybersecurity and risk, but let's see what it comes back with. I find it works best if you give a kind of one question at a time. Scope creep, technological challenges, compliance risk, resource allocation. Just kind of the next question, how do I convince my boss we need additional headcount? I'm going to assume silence is consent. Or was there a question? Am I going too fast or too slow?
You're doing it the appropriate pace, Jason.
Let's try to send an email, see what it says over an email.
So for people, this is a block sign for your work. A lot of companies, they blocking the AI and or AI related kind of, that is really common. So that's why ChatGPT is one of the tools. Open it up. That could be out. Somebody say this is block sign from his work.
So again, it kind of will, if you tell it what you're looking for, it will take that information from this entire thread and help you put it into another area. Again, like with all things with ChatGPT, you should always look at it and read it. And usually you should condense it, because I find that ChatGPT in general is very wordy and can go on a little bit longer than what it needs to. But if you approach any of the AI tools, whether it be ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Google, or Amazon, any of the products, as more of a collaboration partner, and instead of like a shortcut. There are times where it can just be a shortcut, don't get me wrong, but for the more high knowledge things, the more you're collaborating with it and putting your stamp on it, the better the results that you are going to get. Right. Just want to make sure we're covering everything that everybody wants, and what questions people have about how this works, what we need to change. If somebody has a piece of content that they like and we can incorporate it and try to like interrogate it and ask questions about it. All those things are the things that I think are kind of good to go through from this. And somebody drop something in the chat that they are interested in.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of these questions you can just ask ChatGPT normally without putting
Right.
in all the files and creating a project. Is there any moment where it's not pulling any of this information from the documents, or is everything that it says going to be based off of the information you put in?
So the way that I believe that it works is that it pulls from your documents first. And then if it doesn't find information there, then it will go do kind of its secondary search on the outside. That's why it takes a little bit longer in general for the results to come back on this side of it, because it is like it's indexing all the information that's in there, but then it's coming back and when you're asking it a question, it's kind of scanning that knowledge, that local knowledge base first, for lack of a better word. And then, oh, I don't have an answer for this, so it will go get data from the outside world.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And I think to kind of
I
where
had
Mapes, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a similar question. Thanks, Amanda, for asking. But my question was, can we toggle between searching in our content versus searching in the global content? So is there a provision to say, don't look at something from outside?
The toggle would just be going back to a normal ChatGPT window and asking it the same question.
Oh, no, the other way around, where I just want to see, say, for example, if I'm an insurance agent and I have uploaded all the carrier files, I need to get the information on only those files that I have uploaded, and I don't want it to go to the general web and get me the details. Is that provision there?
So this comes into, like, if you were doing that, then you would use this button and upload a specific file and then ask it questions about that file. So like if it was something like a client file, for instance, and it had all their project related stuff, you could use that as the basis of it and interrogate it, basically interact with ChatGPT based on just that individual file.
Okay,
I
so
think
we
no
have to
matter what, it always is going to go out a little bit to get additional information. So to my knowledge, and I don't know this with 100% certainty, but I believe in almost anything it's doing, it's always going back to its kind of knowledge base after it explores whatever the most recent content is, or whatever like the local content is.
Okay, good.
Correct. And there is a question about the documentation does require using version 4 or the paid version, the plus version. Whereas I do believe, though, if you have like the link that I sent, while I required to have it to load these documents, the paid version, you can still access the knowledge of the MyGPT with the free version.
Hello, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. So, sorry, this AI tool is very, very good. It has been very helpful. But as for my own background as a construction manager for years and engineer, I try to relate the AI tools with expert judgment in terms of planning when it comes to project planning. So on the real case scenario, how effective is this ChatGPT as against expert judgment when it comes to planning?
So when it comes to project planning,
Yes, project planning.
I mean, I think it's kind of a very broad question, and what I would say is, in these particular cases, like if you have a really well-defined methodology. So right now, everything that I've put in here is kind of generalized knowledge. But frankly, the PMI international site actually has things really well logged down. So there's not a lot of kind of free downloads, if you will, of how those things work. What I would say is if you have a written methodology, like your rules of how you create project plans, and you have something that gives it what the estimated timelines are, and like you have a repeatable process that you use over and over again, and if you can document that and put it in a GPT, it will actually print out and provide some really reasonably accurate stuff for you to go in and fine tune. So what I would say is, and I'm not somebody that uses all of the project tools. So like I don't think it's going to go in and like create you a Microsoft project plan. But if you have like a format that you use, I do believe that if you give it like upfront, invest the time and have a process, document what that process is, and it understands how your methodology is, like some of your normal phase gates, for lack of a better word, I think it can actually do a really good job of creating that initial draft for you to be able to go in and maybe put it into another program and fine tune it and take off some of that. I don't know how long it takes you to create a project plan, but I think those are areas where it can actually do a really good job of creating that first part of it and then letting you add additional content. I don't know if that's probably not entirely helpful for you, but it's a kind of a broad question.
It is very good. It's okay. Gives you the basics from start. All right. Thank you very much, Justin.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Jason, my name is Donna. I have a question. What is the chance of AI accessing your personal files when you're involved in developing or customizing a project?
So that is a really broad question, and I will give you my opinion on it. And some things you may like, some things you may not like, and then some things, it's just the bottom line is there is so much information on all of us that is already out there that if you're talking about like your personal information, I'm going to just tell you, it's probably out there on the dark web somewhere already, being manipulated in ways that we probably can't even think about. But like people that are in cybersecurity can really like go onto a whole dark place with all that. If you're asking like, is it going to look at your folders and your individual files? ChatGPT in and of itself is not. I can tell you Microsoft is not. I cannot say anything about Amazon or Google because I don't know what their business practices are, but Google has made, like I remember when Gmail first came out, oh, it's free email and free storage and blah, blah, blah. But the price that we pay for that is they do read our emails to scan it because they want to sell that data from a marketing standpoint. Now, if you have like Google Enterprise and some of their business products, I presume that they have safeguards and protections on all of that data, but I just don't know. I know in Microsoft, and I'm not like speaking for Microsoft on everything on their behalf for this. This is like my own personal, views, but they have a very stringent, responsible AI guidelines. And I know we all see like headlines in the news where, somebody made DALL-E create a picture that represented something that, most of us would find horrific. I think there's lots of really interesting discussion that can go on about that. They try really hard to try to prevent that stuff, but it's just not going to be perfect. It's always the balance between censorship and freedom of expression. And then there's a lot of responsible guidelines, but from a Microsoft standpoint, there are lots of things they won't let us do because I'm selling AI to help improve contact centers. And there's a lot of things that we cannot do because it is in violation of, and it's a lot of things those are that our customers want us to do, but it violates our responsible AI ethics and guidelines. And so like we're kind of like, we can do that, but we can't actually, we can do it from a technology standpoint, but we cannot do it because it uses some kind of data that we're not supposed to be accessing.
Okay,
So
thanks.
it's not a great answer. The short answer for you is it really kind of comes down to the individual AI platform and how they treat responsible AI and whether or not they're going to access your data. But
Okay,
your data being out there is probably the scariest thing for most of us because, you know, I get alerts from my financial institution that tells me that, you know, my access has been accessed or my data has been accessed on the dark web, and like, okay. So use good password management protocols and all that other stuff.
okay, thanks.
But like this specifically is only going to use the data that we're providing and the data that it can get online. So does anybody else have another question? I really want to I want to test this, and I hope you, has anybody tried to download it themselves to their own instance?
So Jason, we have a few questions in the chat.
Okay,
Can I go
yeah,
ahead with that?
please, that would help.
So yeah, one of them has asked, what is the difference in the output of ChatGPT free version 3.5 versus paid version 4.0?
Okay, so at a very high level, the benefits of the paid version is you can upload data, so you can upload files for it to interpret. You get access to DALL-E, and you're on a model that also does have and can go out and search the web. Whereas on ChatGPT 3.5, it is, I forget what the date is, but like its most, theoretically, its most recent date was like November of 2022, if I recall correctly. Don't hold me to that date, but it's always just a little bit more behind. The reality of it is, I would just tell you my personal experience, depending on what I'm doing, I probably use version 3, or I use just the 3.5 instance. I think it's 3.5 turbo, probably somewhere between 75 and 85% of the time. Personally, when I'm using my personal instance here, I use it a lot for DALL-E. That's one of the main reasons that I have for. On occasion, I do like to upload data. I find that my side job, I do stuff with real estate, and I will feed it data. You know, like there's some typical fields that I'm usually interested in, but I will give it a data set and I will go, hey, analyze this data and give me these 3 data sets. And then I will ask it, pull out 2 different pieces of information that an average analyst wouldn't find. And it will usually come back with something that is interesting for me to at least explore. So it's kind of a way to interact with your data and let it, like, give it a, like, tell it it's whatever type of analyst, and I let it interrogate the data and it comes back to me, and then we kind of have a, we really, I use ChatGPT a lot to brainstorm. Also use it a lot to create images for marketing material that I produce. So that's the main reason that I have for, but 90, probably what most people need it for, ChatGPT 3.5 is probably good enough until you get to the point where you're trying to do more things or you really have a need to do some kind of image creation. But even then, just to, you know, while we're on this, I know it's a little bit outside of PMI, but if you go to, I don't know what Google has, so I'm not trying to be the Microsoft you know, seller here, but even in Copilot, if you come into Bing Chat here, so if I went into the work one, I'm kind of in my Copilot instance. But if I'm over here on the web, I am just on my own thing. So I can say, I don't need ChatGPT 4 because I get it in this little box here. Create an image of somebody give me a name of an animal. Anybody?
Right.
Say it again. Tiger?
Tiger.
Let's see, where should,
How about a wombat?
Wombat, okay. Now, there's no practical purpose for this, but so for free, you don't need anything for Bing Chat. It's going to try to create this picture of a wombat on Wall Street, which I think I misspelled, eating a hot dog. So this is behind the scenes going out and leveraging ChatGPT 4. It's pretty good. It gives us 4 different versions. Got the business people behind us. All right, so now, I mean, we can put this on the next PMI newsletter. Anybody wants to? I mean, you know, Natalia, you can make that happen for me.
Yeah, sure. Send it to me.
Yes, sure.
Or you can create your own. This is the point. Like, you can be very creative with it. And if you use Bing Chat, then you have access to ChatGPT 4. It's a slightly different interface, but you basically have that full power. It just depends on what you're looking for. The biggest difference is in Microsoft, it's going through some of their, it is going through their responsible AI. It's running on their machines, is my understanding. And so like you will get slightly different variations of the results than what you would from ChatGPT if it was going through OpenAI or OpenAI directly. So it's
So, Jason, if I understood you correctly, you can do exactly the same in ChatGPT version 4, right? Not just in Copilot, and create images the same way as you put the prompt, like create image that and that, like eating hot dog or smoking a cigar, whatever, and then it will create an image for you.
correct. So
Thank
basically,
you.
yeah, I mean, like if your only reason to go to ChatGPT 4 was because you want to make some images like this just on occasion, then the free version and using Bing Chat is it's probably the better alternative than you paying $20 a month or $25 or whatever it is now.
Okay, thank you.
But, and again, this will go out and do, you know, it will query the web. So if you want to go, let's see. If there's any. So it's supposed to be web aware and know that I'm on this page. So I think maybe PMI is something, I don't know what this US, perhaps I should have read the article first, but PMI is 52.3 versus 51.3 is expected, blah, blah, blah. So this must be some kind of stock or something, but I was hoping to get like a website. But the point being is from Bing Chat, if you're on a web page and like you have a download, something you're going to download, kind of to the question that was asked before, now that I think about it, in this particular case, you can ask it questions about anything that's on your browser. So if you had, there you go. Nope. Trying to open the file in the browser and it didn't actually do what I expected it to do. Yeah. Been a while since I've opened a file from. This is when brainstorming on the fly. I was trying to open a file. To do that. I haven't done it in so long. I don't even know how to do it in chat or in the web browser. All right, but the point being is if you have something like any kind of page that is in your web browser, you open a PDF under it, you can read that file. So there was a question earlier about being able to do that.
Yes. So Jason, like another member has asked, like, will everyone get the same images during creation, like the one you did now, or how it varies between users?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So as you showed that image now, like before this of an animal,
Uh-huh.
um, so will it show the same images, like similar images to different users when they're using ChatGPT, or how does it vary between users?
So, okay, these 4 images will never be reproduced in exactly the same way again. So if you went in and typed in the same prompt, you're going to get something probably fairly similar,
Mm-hmm.
but they will never replicate. So one of the best practices actually is normally anytime I create something, I download it and put it in an AI folder, AI images folder, because you just never know when I'm gonna want it. Like I can't think of a reason why I want a wombat on Wall Street eating a hot dog, but I will save this image, or I'll save all 4 of these images because I may at some point, but who knows? Maybe I'll do like I'll take all 4 of them and then run it through like another AI program and say, now redo this in the style of Andy Warhol, and it will give me all 4 of them as a different thing. I mean, it's kind of I don't have a really great explanation for it, but I mean, it's your creativity about what you can do. The point about just saving it is I can never reproduce these images because even if I asked it to do the same thing, it's not going to be exactly like this. It may be like a different kind of a bus, but the images that are behind it will look a little bit different every time. So I never get that exact frame ever again. Because it is generating all the same, or every time is something unique. It's not like saving the image in cache and going, oh, now Amanda asked for the same thing. I did it for Jason. It's all created from scratch, which is kind of scary sometimes. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, thanks.
I have a
Learn another-
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the screen with your GPT project? There you go. So a little bit earlier, you shared out the link to this model.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have a 2-part question and then it followed with a thought experiment. The first part is when you shared that out, I went ahead and connected to it.
Okay.
Are you able to determine a list of who is connected to your share?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay, that leads me to the second question. So when the share goes out, I'm looking at it from a cybersecurity type of aspect.
Yep.
So when the share goes out, I looked at it and I was able to share that link, copy the link, which means I could share it again.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Okay. So while I was in there, just to see what would happen, I asked it to put in the last 10 entries of this project manager thread.
Okay.
And it gave me the last 10 entries, even though I only entered 2, it went and gave me the other 8
Okay.
that I did not enter. So a word of warning on this is a thought experiment that I just conducted. If you share out a link, it doesn't seem like you have control of it once it goes out. And 2, somebody can go in and backtrack entries that were previously entered, even though you did not enter them. So be aware of that share when you send out that first share.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call out because I think you have to just assume that anything you put into ChatGPT is broadly consumable. And to your point now, specifically with the sharing of my GPT, that somebody else might be able to, circumvent or get some additional information. You look at that in a couple of ways, is like if you're sharing it to the, whatever, a small group of people that there is no intent of sharing it beyond that, that might actually be a feature from a pod of people all working on the same thing, that they can kind of see everything. But also if people were putting stuff in there that they shouldn't be putting into like a business chat. Again, I think I would also say this is where something that's more sophisticated, I mean, with most customers, I mean, let's be very brutally honest. Most of everybody's employers do not want you putting any of your customer or your work information into ChatGPT because it does get in and go to feed the model. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the way of creating a MyGPT in Copilot. And if it's in Microsoft Copilot, and I'm going to assume that if it's in whatever the versions of Google and Amazon, so just take that as when I say Copilot, just that's because I have experience with Copilot. But any of the major vendors that are going to come out with their own AI assistants, you have to assume that then that's in a protected environment. And when you share, like if I created this in my Copilot, only the people that I give access are going to have access to it. Now, because I can't use it, I can't have that same thought experiment about, will all those users still be able to see like the last 5 or 6 or 10 or however many questions? That is a really good call out. And, I would just say that some of the best practices are still being worked on. I would leave just everybody with the idea that don't put anything that's truly work related into ChatGPT. But that being said, I mean, there are some things that's not super intellectual, and definitely don't ever put any customer data in there. But you can, it's definitely a powerful tool for you to be able to do things. Like I said, I started this with, I'm just going to use this one because it's an easier one. I'm in Toastmasters. I know Project Management Institute, Dallas, PMI Dallas has a PMI Dallas Toastmasters. So I created this because I was trying to show the club how we can use it. So I just fed it a bunch of information about how you prepare a speech. So there's nothing in here, like it's not confidential to the Toastmasters. But like if you don't know what something is, or they've got, they got a new member, like they want to know, hey, what's table topics? And it gives them those kinds of answers. So it depends on the use cases you're using it for. But this, to me, this is still very powerful as opposed to just going out to the web, because we can control the information that it's basing it on. So if we do something unique as a club, we can put that information in there. But I agree with your point from a privacy standpoint. We all have to be cautious about how much we share. I would also say that we all said that when Facebook came out too, and look at what people share now. So privacy is dead. Long live privacy.
So yeah, sorry to interrupt, Jason. So
Oh.
it's time to get a group photo. Like, can everyone share it?
Okay.
Switch on their video so we can take a group photo.
Oh, video? Okay. Oh yeah. Picture? I'll stop sharing. That's what I heard, right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, this is to post on our social media, Jason, on the event.
Love social media. So I gave you the perfect segue, not even knowing it.
So Shilpa, you're taking the picture?
Yes, I'm taking. Yes,
Is
it's
it
done.
done, Shilpa?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's done.
Awesome. Well, I would just thank everybody for taking this time. I hope that you got something new out of the MyGPTs, and we covered a couple of different things that were beyond that scope, but I really appreciate it. And I hope everybody got something out of it. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments or discussions.
Jason, we still have 10 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We really
Sorry.
I
have
mean, this is
time.
more like if people, have a last minute dropping out or something, we wanted to capture that. But otherwise, the session itself is on.
Okay.
And I think we still have a few questions there probably.
Okay. Yeah. So I was kind of trying to go back through the chat a little bit. So I use one of the questions I saw, and I'm going in reverse order, so I apologize, but I use the Bing browser for the most part. I do still have Google Chrome. Then there was a question, do you own rights to them? I think that's for the images, I'm assuming, Devin. Like when I create those images, do I own them or does
Yes,
ChatGPT own
that
them?
is for the, yeah.
Yes, yeah, the one you created now. So she's asking about.
I am not an intellectual lawyer, so I don't really know, but I am pretty sure that Microsoft has a blanket indemnity of you being, if you create an image using Image Creator or Bing Chat, and that they will protect you against any copyright lawsuit. Like if somebody else had like a famous painting of a wombat eating a hot dog on Wall Street and they came after you, then my basic understanding is that Microsoft actually would actually basically hold you harmless and take on that responsibility. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but that's what I understand.
I'm holding you to it, but thank you for the response.
Okay. Have your attorney call my attorney. Let's see. What were let me know what other questions. I just want to make sure we cover everything as best as I
Yeah,
can.
I think chat window we are monitoring, Jason. You can
Okay.
go back to your screen and yeah, continue.
Oh, okay.
You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
start sharing.
So was there like another question that we want to, does somebody have a PDF file or something they can point me to download to show you like another upload, or I just want to be helpful and of service to you guys to make sure, because I'm still learning some of this, but I find it incredibly powerful to like just know that I want to do something from something that's unique to me. I mean, because most of these are things that I've not shared. But I'll look at it from a project management. The other one, I guess, while we're on this, if you don't know, we'll stop here for a second. So I went into customize ChatGPT. And what this allows you to do is provide custom instructions like where are you based, what type of work. So you could say, my name is Jason. I work for whatever company. I'm a whatever project manager. When I'm off, I play golf, blah, blah, blah. So I have stuff here for mostly my side business. I kind of give it who I'm inspired by, who I like to listen to. So like the voices of people that I listen to. And then like how I want ChatGPT to respond. So it's going to basically like I want detailed responses that encourage me to think more deeply, and so that I have a growth mindset. I want it to be direct, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to tell you, I've not seen like a huge difference in having this as not having it, but I've heard other people tell me that they actually get substantially different results based on what they put in. So, this is worthwhile filling out a little bit because it will help, or it can help from a domain standpoint, in that if it knows you are in a particular field or industry or something you want to do, it will kind of color everything towards that focus. So there are some, parts of it, but I think some of it is I have some pretty detailed prompts that go into a lot of the voice and tone. So again, these are all things that are worthwhile experimenting. I have some standard prompts, like I use a lot of the act as a. So I don't know how many people are familiar with like some of the prompting constructs within ChatGPT. As far as you are, act as, imagine. So I'll give you my kind of high level thoughts based on what I've experienced personally, as well as what I've heard from other people. Most recently, I used to use this all the time, is you are an expert project manager, as an example, but whatever field it is. And people have basically said, we need to stop using that because the expert mode kind of puts it into where it thinks whatever it's saying is the most right thing possible. So maybe for a project manager, that's okay. But sometimes it removes some ambiguity that it shouldn't, and it thinks it knows best when what it thinks knows best may conflict with what you believe. I believe that generally Imagine is the worst one unless you're doing something that's super creative, because Imagine is the way basically you're going to get more kind of hallucinations where it provides kind of fictitious data when you tell it Imagine. So kind of for the most part, 80% of what I do, I'm telling it to act as a certain thing. So if I'm trying to write a better email, I'm going to say act as a copywriter that's known for creating dynamic content that sounds like music to a reader's ear, whatever. I mean, and then I tell it, I'm a technical specialist at Microsoft, and I want you to rewrite this email that I wrote and make it, sound like a sonnet, whatever, the parameters are yours. But the bottom line is by using that kind of construct, you tell it what it is, who you are, and then what you very clearly what you want it to do and how you want it to do it. It actually produces some pretty good stuff. I use a lot of things where I also tell ChatGPT to limit it to 500 words or less. It often still goes over that because I find that it's overly verbose. So I see we only have 2 minutes left. Were there any comments or questions about kind of what I was just saying there? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes. So have like a final question, Jason, from my
Sure.
side. So can we share the prompts, like what the prompts which I do on ChatGPT to my team or anywhere, or is any work going on collaborating this with teams?
To my knowledge, there is not. I actually have most of my prompts stored away in a spreadsheet. I kind of, how do I want to say this? So there's an art and science to prompting. I think in some ways you could say that even this isn't really like my GPT is not really sharing the prompt itself. But I think with a my GPT, you don't have to have maybe as focused as you might need to do other things. I spend a fair amount of time, like there's certain tasks, like if I just want to rewrite an email to make it a little bit maybe more pleasant or to highlight something, having a prompt template is really helpful where you can say, basically you can just fill in the blanks. I'm going to actually, because I like showing more than telling. Let me go into something where I created a.
So while you're looking for that, Jason, I just wanted to let you know that a lot of people have liked this session. There are a lot of good comments that people have put on the chat. Thank you so much, for agreeing to talk to us. This was a great session.
Yeah.
And you can
So
continue.
this right here, just to kind of really quickly, this is me having a default template. So this is my kind of photography one. And what it says is this is the prompt right here up to right here. So the whole prompt is this. Imagine you're an expert photographer known for taking fantastic action shots. I want you to create an image of a subject. The subject is in their location. They are activity, whatever it is, the theme of the image is, and the emotion, and you can see in their face and body. The image should reflect a style, and the image should have an aspect ratio of whatever the aspect ratio is. So then down here, so this is the prompt, if you will, and then I just fill in the blanks with subject. In this case, is a regularly handsome man in his 40s, an athletic woman. They're hiking trail on a nature walk, family enjoying time, blah, 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 professional. So this is the first one that it did. A little Swiss Family Robinson-esque, but whatever, it's not horrible. The point being is like I use this as a template when I don't want to have to think that much, except for I don't want to have to recreate the prompt every time. But I find that most of the time I spend brainstorming. So I know we've gone over 1 minute now, so I'll end on that. There's
Yeah.
2 ways of doing it. Neither is
Thank you,
100%
Jason.
perfect. Thank you everybody for your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason, for this insightful session. So we definitely have learned a lot, and we have received a lot of good comments also, like in the chat. So I'll definitely try to implement these tailored prompts from now on when I'm using ChatGPT. So thank you all for attending today's Lunch and Learn session. So I hope even you liked it. So, and I hope to see you all in the next month as well.
you.
And for the
Bye-bye.
question on the
Thank
PDU
you.
code, we'll be sharing the PDU code post the session in the email. And as far as
In your
let me
register.
stop the recording, let me stop the recording. We will try to upload the recording on our chapter